What's up guys, ADCZ here, welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck of the Day. Today we're starting to upgrade the decks that got a boost, or that got new decks in Phantom Rage, and we're starting with pretty much the deck that everyone's expecting to become a tier 1 strategy, and this is Zoodiac. We're combining it with Tri-Brigades because we want to feature more stuff from Phantom Rage, but I think the Tri-Brigades also offer a lot in the deck. People have kind of lost hope in the Tri-Brigades, mainly because they're seeing in the OCG how Zoo is being played, which is a total control deck, no Tri-Brigades at all. But keep in mind, in the OCG, their ban list is a little bit more effective than ours because they don't have Link Cross. Some of their combos are not very good. They also have Max C, which is really good when you're playing pure Zoo because you do not special summon a lot. All your summons are inherited summons, so you can stop whenever you want. So I think for the TCG, we need to incorporate a lot more than that in order to be able to combat the meta. So I'm giving you the updated Tri-Brigade Zoodiac list that has not only a new engine that helps you do a lot, but also has a new boss monster that is pretty much a win condition right on its own. So before we begin, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming videos, and now let's get to the deck profile. So to start off with the Zoodiacs, we have the one Ratpier. Ratpier is still a really good card for her Foolish Burial effect. I am not playing Zoodiac combo. I think you don't really need to, because if you draw it, it's pretty much a dead card. You have to either hope to have a Thoroblade to discard for a draw, or set it and wait in turn, which is not very optimal because this is a going second deck, so you don't usually end on a Zoodiac monster. You will usually end on Thunderstrike Zeus, so you don't really need to play combo. But Rat is still a really good card because having access to Ratpier means that you have access to your Ram whenever you want, or your Whiptail whenever you want, and with Tenki you're playing 4 Ratpiers, so it's still very consistent. Next up we have 3 Whiptails, of course, the best removal in the deck. Along with Trident you can get rid of a lot of monsters, and this makes sure that your Zoodiacs are powerful enough to get rid of more monsters. 3 copies of Thoroblade. Thoroblade is a draw power, it gives your Zoodiac Exceeds Piercing if it's under it, still a good card. And 3 copies of Ram. With Trident, this card is worth maxing because when you bring it back with Chaka 9 and then you overlay on top for Trident, you can pop Ram with your own Trident, so it will give you back a monster that you can use for Exceeds material, because the monster you bring back with Chaka 9 cannot be used as Exceeds material for this turn. So if you bring back Ram, you pop it, and then you bring a fresh monster on the field that doesn't have any restriction on it. So it's still a very good card to play at 3. The rest of the Zoodiacs are not really very dependable. Bunny Blast prevents you from being targeted by spells, and Kata Roost from monster effects, but still being able to use Ram is more efficient because of cards like Impermanence. So even if you're going first and you're ending on a Trident, you can just put Ram under it so your opponent cannot imperm your Trident, so you will still get the pop. So it's still a very good thing to have the option for. Next up, for the Tri-Brigades, we have 3 copies of Fractal. Fractal is the one that you discard from your hand to send a Tri-Brigade monster from your deck to the grave, and all the Tri-Brigade main deck monsters share the same on-field effect that you can banish Beast Warrior, and Winged Beast monsters from your graveyard to special summon that type of a monster from your extra deck with the equal link rating among the monsters you banished. So these bypass any kind of materials listed on a monster, so you don't really need to think about that, and there's a good variety of monsters that you can special summon from your extra deck. And a lot of people are playing like the Infinite Negate combo with the Seymour Link and then using Union Carrier, but I think a more generic Link monster that doesn't need some setup in order to be special summoned, that gives you some kind of disruption, is really good, and I will show you the monster I'm talking about once I get into the extra deck. Next up we have 3 copies of Keras. Keras is the one that special summons itself from your hand by sending a Beast Warrior or Winged Beast monster from your hand to the grave, and Keras is searchable with the one Navel. Navel is the one that you send to the grave with Fractal, because when this card is sent to the graveyard you search one of your Tri-Brigade monsters, so I think you just need 1 copy to send with your Fractal so you get a search. So I think the 3-3-1 ratio is really consistent, and because you play a lot of Beast Warrior monsters in the deck, you will always have something to discard for your Keras, because there are hands that you get a lot of Zoodiac monsters and they don't really do anything except being discard fodder for your Thoroblade. So I think this gives a lot more utility in the deck and makes it more powerful as well. And since this is the going second build, we play a lot of hand traps. So starting off with 3 Nibiru. Nibiru is probably the one that you have to have in your main deck if you want to go second, because with Infernoble and Dragon Link, if you do not stop them, then no matter what deck you're playing, you're not going to be able to play, because either you're going to get extra deck locked, which this deck cannot play around, because you can try to get rid of the Bastard Lock, but you have to play through 2 negates as well, so it's not like one Cosmic Cyclone can deal with this lock. Or if you're playing as Infernoble, you're going to get hand looped with possibly Aqua Dolphin and definitely Smoke Grenade, so you will lose really good cards from your hand. So you need to be able to stop them, and Nibiru is the only hand trap that outright stop the combos on its own, because you can have Ash, you can have Veiler, but hopefully they will stop your opponent, but it's not guaranteed, because just one Veiler on maybe a normal summon of Connector is not good enough, because they just need one Fireflint Lady or any Warrior Extender and they just have full combo as well. Same thing with Dragon Link. Even if you Veiler the Romulus, they can still do a lot, so it's not very optimal. So I think Nibiru is the only one that outright stops their plays on its own. Next up, we have 3 Ash Blossom. You need to play a lot of them, you need to play more, because when you play these weaker hand traps, they're still good. They're really good in weaker matchups. When you're playing in good matchups, you need to have at least 2 of them so you can actually stop them if you don't see Nibiru. So this is why you need to play a lot. 3 Effect Veiler, same thing. Veiler is also really good for stopping Anaconda. This deck doesn't really struggle against Dragoon because of Whiptail. It's very easy to bait the effect. Zeus also deals with it. So if you just do something to one or the other to bait Dragoon's effect, then you can use the second's resource to get rid of it. So it's very easy. 3 copies of Gamma and the 1 driver. Gamma is still really good. It's hopefully not as powerful as Nibiru when you play against your matchups like Dragon Link, but it can stop them on its own against certain matchups and certain hands, but still it's not as powerful, but it has more chances of stopping the play on its own rather than having just 1 Ash Blossom or 1 Effect Veiler, because it gets rid of the monster from the field. So if your opponent like uses a Connector and you actually don't have to use your Gamma there, because the Connector on its own doesn't get rid of the Gamma because it has 1,000 attack points, so it's something that has an advantage over that. And this is why this card is better against Infernoble than Ash or Veiler, because you're forced to use it immediately if they start with Connector. So yeah, this is why Gamma is the second best hand trap under Nibiru. For the spells, we have 3 Fire Formation Tanky. Not only does this search any of your Zoodiac monsters, but it also searches your Fractal, which is a Beast Warrior, so you can get access to your Tri-Brigade engine very easily, so it's more consistent this way. 1 Zoodiac Barrage, of course, this card is insane, because if your opponent stops your normal summon with something, if you normal summon a Zoo and they use Heavenly Spheres on it, and you bounce it, if you don't have a follow-up, then you're pretty much screwed. This is why I think the Tri-Brigade engine is actually really good for this deck, because if you play pure Zoo, you are so reliant on your normal summon, and with 1 Zoodiac Barrage, it's not like you can have something for a follow-up, because yes, if you draw the 1 Barrage, then you do have something, but it's just 1 Barrage and it's unsearchable. So having the Tri-Brigade means that you have a lot of monsters, and Tri-Brigades have a link too that helps you special summon a Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast from your hand, so you can special summon one of your Zoos from your hand, so you can keep doing your plays even if your opponent disrupts your normal summon. 1 Foolish Burial, this is another way to get access to Naval, so you can search one of your Tri-Brigades, or if you already have the Tri-Brigade in your hand, you can send your Ramram or your Whiptail to the grave to have more Takanine and Tiger Mortar plays. 2 Pot of Avarice, just for the games that you're going to get into the grind games, because if you're not playing against combo, if you're playing against like an Altergeist deck or something, you are going to get into a grind game, and because the extra deck is a little bit tighter now than it used to be, you cannot play actual 3-offs of the Zoodiac monsters, so once you go for the rotation twice, then basically you don't have anything else left, so you need to rely on seeing one of these 2 copies of Pot of Avarice to get you back into the game, otherwise you will not have any gas left to be able to duel. And 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence to round up the hand traps to the count of 15, so this is why I said if you open with a weaker hand trap like Viral Rash, you hope to draw 2, or you hope that Nibiru and Gamma are enough to stop the opponent on its own. For the extra deck, we have the Zoodiac monsters, 2 Zoodiac Borbo. Borbo has suddenly become the best Zoodiac monster for the extra deck, even better than Dryden, because since you're going second, Dryden doesn't really do much. Like, yeah, you can summon Dryden and try to pop one of your opponent's monsters, but if they have an effect that negates and destroys, then this is very risky to do, because if they do it and get rid of your Dryden, then you will not have anything. So the basic play of the deck is to summon a Zoodiac monster, do not activate any effect. This is, of course, assuming that your opponent has something to get rid of, and then you slap on top of it all 5 Zoodiac Xyz monsters, and then Borbo is the last one. You attack directly, and then you summon Thunderstrike Zeus on top of Borbo, and then you can use Zeus's effect 3 times. So if your opponent doesn't want to get wiped, they have to have 3 monster negates, because Zeus is not once per turn and it's not once per chain. So if you have 6 materials, you use its effect to clear the field, your opponent uses a monster negate, you use it again, another monster negate, you use it again. If your opponent doesn't have 3 monster negates, then they will not be able to stop Zeus. And Appaloosa is a once per chain effect, so it doesn't count as 3 negates. Even if she has 3 negates, it's only 1 negate, because all of that is happening in the same chain. So it's something that's going to be very problematic for your opponent to deal with, and it's going to make decks play a little bit more safe, because if they do everything on the field, then they will not have a follow-up after Zeus clears their entire field. 2 Hammer Kong, I'm playing 2 copies of each of the Zoodiac monsters, except Dryden, of course, because she's at 1, but I think this is the best ratio, because you need to have a lot of materials under Zeus, so you can use its effect multiple times. 2 Tiger Mortar, this is to boost, of course, your Zoodiac monsters. 2 Chakanine to bring back your monsters, and with combination with the 1 Dryden, Chakanine is so much better, because you can bring back the Ramram and then overlay Dryden on top of her, and then you can pop your own Ramram and bring another monster back. And here is the win condition of the deck. We have 2 Zeus Thunderstrike. This card is absolutely insane, because not only does it clear your opponent's board going second, but then when you pass it back to your opponent, it has this effect as a quick effect, so you can use it if you still still have materials left to basically clear your opponent's field. It also clears your own field, which is unfortunate, so you don't really have the potential to special summon more monsters on top of Zeus. Unless you think that you're not going to need Zeus's effect, then you can bring out more monsters on the field, like maybe you can summon a Trident and you think that's enough. But just sieging on Zeus is perfectly fine, because even if your opponent tries to deal with it and they lose their field twice, then next turn you will have enough resources to basically come back and take control of the duel, because remember, you're only doing this using one Zoodiac monster, so this is really insane. So this is why this card has rejuvenated the deck more than any other card has for any other archetype. This is like Lavalval Chain being printed for Infernity back in the day. It's so good. So yep, you get the point. And for the Link monsters, we have the Tri-Brigade monsters and the one tech that I'm summoning with the Tri-Brigade monsters. So first off, we have 2 copies of Ferrijit. Ferrijit is the Link 2 that helps you special summon a Beast Warrior from your hand. So like I said, if your normal summon gets disrupted, Ferrijit is the way to special summon that Zoodiac monster back from your hand so you can do your plays, and gives the deck a little bit more utility, and it becomes more resilient and not so normal summon reliant, like the OCG builds we're seeing. Next, we have the Link 2 of the Ancient Warriors of Double Dragon Lords. This card is absolutely insane. So first of all, you can summon this card even though it requires an Ancient Warriors monsters because of the Tri-Brigades. The Tri-Brigades disregard any kind of materials, just special summon your Beast Warriors like that. And this card is really good because as a quick effect, you can send one card from your hand or field to the grave and target one face-up card your opponent controls, and you bounce it back to the hand. So you can send dead copies of Tenki to use this effect, so it's not like you're negging for this, or you can send it self, which is not a worst option, but it's another disruption. So instead of playing the Seamorph Link and having to play bricks like the Barrier Statue or the Apex Avian and Thunderbird, you're playing a monster that doesn't require any of those bad cards in the main deck, and it's actually a really good card. And bounce effects are actually better than negate effects, especially against a deck like Dragon Link. When they summon a monster, if they do not get to go for the Striker Dragon, they will not get the field spell, but if they summon like a Seyfert and they use its effect to tribute it to get a Surge, and then you negate that effect instead of bouncing back the Seyfert on summon, then you're making the World Legacy Guard Dragons and the Monster Reborns live, because the Seyfert is now in the grave. While if you bounce the monster, then all those revival spells are basically useless, and they need something like a quick launch in order to be able to get back. So I think bounce effects are really powerful, and this is why this card is much better in my opinion than a Seamorph. And the last Link monster is the Tri-Brigade Link 4, the Ominous Omen. This card on summon is a banished spot removal that doesn't even target, so it's a really good card, and you can summon this very easily with any of your Tri-Brigades just by banishing 4 Beast Warriors from your grave. So you special summon this, get rid of something, and then you have a 3000 beater that you didn't require any of your field resources to make. So yep, that's the deck, guys. It's a really good deck. I'm not sure if it's full tier 1 right now, mainly because of the Bastard Lock. The Bastard Lock kills this deck. This is why you play a lot of hand traps to make sure that the Bastard Lock never touches the field. But with a good ban list, this is a very possible tier 1 contender, and we're going to see it for sure in the near future. Eventually, once we get those tier 1 decks that we have right now butchered in the next ban list, or hopefully in the next ban list. I think this is what we're all praying for, because the format has become very stale and repetitive. So yep, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming videos, and we'll see you next time.